Good afternoon, friends and family. Welcome back to my channel. In 2012, in the ancient city of Timbuktu, militant stormed libraries, burned centuries of old books, but they didn't know that that secret of resistance is already on the way. Yes, these militants went into Timbuktu with one purpose, was to destroy all the manuscripts in Timbuktu. If you don't know, Timbuktu was the heart of civilization from the 1300s to the 16th century, from the 13th century to 16th centuries. Timbuktu had great universities where people from all over the world came to study subjects like autonomy, medicine, law, literature, mathematics. Scholars would travel across Africa and the Islamic world to study in Timbuktu. But the threat of Timbuktu came from colonial narratives. How Timbuktu disapproved the myth of primitive Africa. Why European colonizers did downplay or claim Africa achievements. The manuscript as proof of Africa advanced societies before colonizations. The military, the militant tried to occupy Timbuktu. They brought destruction and mosques and universities and burned manuscripts. Now, my question is, who paid them to do that? Whose interest was it in for them to burn these manuscripts? I can say this with certain. The colonizer didn't want or don't want these manuscripts to survive because it would show that their theory or their story that Africa was a backward country until they colonize it and civilize it. And you also have religious extremists. So these religious extremists were used as tool or as tools of the colonizer to erase a culture and to align with Western civilization or align with Western geopolitical and resource interests. But something they didn't know, the people of Timbuktu and Mali got wind of what was happening and they removed over 22,000 manuscripts from Timbuktu in the dead of the night. And they stored it in Bamako to ensure that the culture and the history would survive. Now, 13 years later, the Malian government is sending back those manuscripts to its rightful home in Timbuktu. The Malian government has secured that area, so they think it was safe, or it is safe, for them to return the manuscript to its rightful place. These manuscripts hold inside of them the history of Africans and the importance and the legacy we have, and our role in civilization as Africans. The West narrative, most of the time, is that Africa is a backward continent. They don't tell you about the great universities, our advancement we have made for civilizations. But the funny thing is, if you visit most European cultural center, you will find African drawing, African sculpture in most of these museums. But yet they said Africa was backward. So there's the irony, my friends. We as a people, we have to fight against the neo-colonialism. They tried to burn the truth, but the truth survived. Africans is not backward people, are not backward people. We had great civilizations long before the West. In fact, it was the Africans who went into Europe and civilized Europe and created those museums and monumental structures. Africans been around since the beginning of time. Africa has the first civilization. All civilization came out of Africa, meaning all people came out of Africa. The Europeans, the Asians complexion developed after the second ice age. Those people got lighter who were living there. They were all Africans. They were all dark complexions. But yet, they claim to be the dominant force. And the way they do that is destroyed our history. My friends and family, Mali is one of those ancient kingdom and civilizations. Long before the Europeans, the so-called Age of Enlightenment, Timbuktu was already shining. In the 13th century to the 16th century, under Mali, and the late Songhai Empire, Timbuktu was wasn't just a desert outpost. It was a university. Like I said, scholars came from all over Africa, the Middle East, and even parts of Europe to study. They studied medicine, mathematics, theology, law, history, literature, you name it. The city, three great centuries centers, Songor, Djandor, and Saida Yang, were like Oxford University or Harvard or Cambridge in their time. Those manuscripts, thousands of them, record centuries of thoughts, advanced astronomy, charts, medical theories, trade agreements, poetry, even guide to navigate for navigating the Sahara. And they were written by African hands in Africa City for African people. Why the truth threatens the colonizers. Here's the thing: when European colonizers arrived in West Africa, centuries later, they sold, they lied that Africa was backward, that it had no civilizations worth mentioning until European shows up. But Timbuktu manuscript destroyed all of those theories. If the truth become common knowledge, the moral foundation of the colonizations, the so-called civilized mission, would crumble. And if you built your empire on a lie, you doing everything in you'll do everything in your powers to make sure that the truth is burned. Fast forward to 2025. The Malian government of today is returning those manuscripts. They have returned 200 crates weighing over 5.5 tons. Those manuscript has returned home. The reason why they returned it to Timbuktu, the air in Timbuktu is dry, perfect for preservation. Unlike the air in Bamako, where there were stores. But the Malian government of today, they have a plan. Their plan is to digitize all the manuscripts so the whole world can see Africa's intelligence and legacy for what it really is. Mali leaders are calling them a bridge between past and the future. But here's the reality: that bridge only works if we walk across it, if we tell these stories loud enough to drown out the lies. Again, I said, they tried to burn the truth. They failed. The manuscripts of Timbuktu are now more than paper and ink. They are Africans speaking across centuries, saying, we were here, we built, we led, we matters. Now it's our turn to protect that truth, to teach it, to share it, to make sure no one can erase it. My friends and family, if you believe in these truths, I want to see these truths continue. Please like, share, and subscribe this channel so others can learn more about the Black history and the civilization of Africa, the first civilization in this world. This history, they don't want you to know, which means it's history we must all tell. Once someone is trying to destroy something that don't belong to them, they don't want other people to know about it. Have a pleasant day. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can build this channel in telling the truth and in informing our listeners about the truth and about history. See you next time. Enjoy your day.